Well, hello everybody. Today I'm going to be making something called St. Lucia buns. Now I'm a little bit late with these. They're traditionally a bun that's eaten in Scandinavia, and they're eaten on the 13th of December, named after St. Lucia, or something called the Festival of Light, apparently. They look very interesting when I saw the recipe, and I've searched a few recipes and found different ways of doing it. Some of them use something called quark, which I don't have, and mix that with some milk. Others use sour cream. I'm actually going to use some natural yogurt. So in this saucepan I have 180 millilitres of milk and 60 millilitres of natural yogurt, and into that I've sprinkled half a gram of saffron. I've then heated it up, and I put a teaspoon of sugar in to help it as well. Heated it up, and I'm going to pour it into 7 grams of dry active yeast. And I'm going to let that cool down. Just a little bit. I want to get all this out. And one of the ways I'm going to cool that down is by adding 75 grams of butter. I'm going to let that melt. And then the other ingredients we have while that's just melting a little bit is 500 grams of strong bread flour, 100 grams of caster sugar minus the little bit that I put in here already, 1 large egg, and half a teaspoon of cardamom ground. Now you can leave the cardamom out. Some recipes have it in, some don't have it in, and some say it's optional. I just think it's going to give a slight extra flavour. And so this is strong white bread flour, and you're going to have to knead that to get the best results. So as that's just melting, I'm going to put the no, I'm not. Sorry, I beg your pardon. As that's just melting, I'm going to pour it into our bowl. Just like that. And I'm going to leave that for a few minutes so that it lets the yeast start to activate. And when I come back, we're going to add the egg and the other ingredients, and we're going to make our dough. Okay, so now our yeast mixture with the milk and the butter and the natural yogurt has started to foam up, and the saffron, as you can see, has made it go a nice yellow colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 large egg, and my half a teaspoon of cardamom, and I'm just going to mix that to combine it like that. And then I'm going to start adding, I'm going to put the sugar in and mix that as well. And then I'm going to start adding this 500 grams of strong white bread flour gradually, and beat that. So now I've added all the flour. I'm going to get a spatula and just scrape down the sides so that we pull any dry flour away from the edge. And as you can see, it's already getting quite sticky, and I'm going to change from this paddle attachment to the bread beater, or the kneader, should I call it really, I suppose, so that it kneads the bread. And I'm going to let that knead until it's all come together nicely and it's still just a little bit sticky. It should take 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, so I've kneaded that and it's still sticky, but it's not too sticky. So what we want to do is take this out of the bowl and form it into a ball, and then we're going to put it in an oiled bowl and allow it to prove. So as you can see, it's still quite sticky. We'll tip it out. And we'll just get that into a bowl. Easier to do that with a pastry scraper, I think. Like that, and put it into the bowl. Now I've oiled this bowl so it shouldn't stick, and I'm just going to give another little squirt of oil on the top. And then we'll cover it with cling film like that. And we'll allow it to prove for an hour to 2 hours until it's just about doubled in size. And then when I come back, we'll get on with the next step, which is to knock it back and shape it and allow it to prove before it goes in the oven. So I'll be back with you after this is doubled in size. So I'm back now, and I've got my dough, and it's been about an hour and 10 minutes, I think, and I think it's nicely doubled in size. So I'm going to tip it out . On onto the board. I'm going to knock it down. Just like that. And I'm actually just going to put it back in the bowl for a minute for a particular reason. And that is, I want to weigh it 1365 grams. And that's 376 grams. So that means that this is just under 1,000 grams in weight. And I want to divide it into 12. So 12's into 100 would go 9 times, so about 92 grams, I would think. So I'm going to cut this. Of course, my maths may be completely wrong. Cut it again. And try and cut this into 3 and see what I get. That's 98, so that's a bit too much. That's 90 exactly. So that's about right. Right, so I've divided these up into 12. I got the maths wrong, as I always do. It wasn't 90 grams, it was just over 80 grams. So I've divided them into between 80 and 83 grams. And then you have to roll each one out into a sausage. That's about 14 inches long. That's 12. That's about 14. And then with each one, you turn it to make a reverse S shape. Like that. And then you put it on the baking tray. That's about right. So we turn it out like that. Okay, so that's all 12 rolled out into a reverse S shape, some slightly more successfully than others. And what I'm doing is I've oiled some cling film and I'm going to cover them with the oiled cling film for about 30 minutes for them to rise again, and then when I come back we're going to put some egg wash on them and we're going to put a raisin in each of the swirls and we'll bake them in the oven. So you want to preheat the oven to 200 centigrade, 180 centigrade fan, 400 Fahrenheit, and we're going to bake them for about 12 minutes. And one last thing before I leave from this section, I actually got the ingredients wrong for the milk. I think I said 180 millilitres of milk. It was 240 millilitres of milk going with 60 millilitres of natural yogurt. So I'll be back a bit later on. We'll finish these off and then we'll pop them in the oven. Okay, so now we're back and these have just about doubled in size and I've got the oven preheated. These first ones I didn't roll out very well, made a slightly better job of those ones. So what we need to do is just brush the tops and the sides with some egg. And having done that, we'll take a raisin and poke it into each of the scrolls. I've actually got 2 extra, so I'm going to find a couple of small ones and poke the extra one in as well. There. And there. Okay. So then, the oven's preheated at 200 Celsius, 180 fan, 400 Fahrenheit, and I'm going to put these in for between 10 to 12 minutes, I think. I'll have a look at them after 10 minutes, and then I'll take them out when they're done. If they look as though they're browning too much, some people turn them over, but I don't think I'm going to bother turning them over. I don't mind the colour on the top. So I'll be back with you once I've taken them out of the oven. Okay, so now we're back and I've taken the buns out of the oven and I think they've turned out reasonably well. I don't have quite the definition that I was hoping for in the S shape, but if I show you this one for instance, that doesn't look too bad. In fact, all these at the front and these two look okay. These for like this one, which I'm going to try, is a bit misshapen. It says to cool down for 5 minutes before eating them. Well, this is not quite 5 minutes, but I'm going to tear it open. You see the nice yellow of the saffron. Yep, that's a lovely soft bun. I'm just pressing the inside to make sure the dough's cooked. Yep. Well, I'm very pleased with those. I think they turned out quite well. I'll put the link to the recipe below the video. And then I hope to see you again in a few days when I'll be back with another video. In the meantime, happy baking.